There is a London derby. There is a London derby happening tomorrow. It's Arsenal hosting the side of Chelsea at the Emirates Stadium. Smash like button, comment and share. If you're only watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. We know to eat that as we come into this beautiful fixture. The side of Chelsea is placed fourth, and they're really trying to charge to obviously qualify for the Champions League. And the side of Chelsea, the side of Arsenal, is second. And when you look at that table, it is really very pressurizing when it comes to those teams that are really in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh and eighth positions, because all those teams can literally qualify for the Champions League. And we don't know how the English teams are really going to be forming this time around, because they are coefficient, and where they will go will obviously see to it that they obviously take 4 or 5. The minimum is 4, but to get an extra team, that means they need to see to it that the likes of Arsenal and Aston Villa really get to the semi-finals. You know, if they get to the semi-finals, or if one of those gets to the semi-finals, I think something will happen into the mix. So that's exactly how things are really panning out. Arsenal is second with 55 points, and Chelsea is fourth with 49 points, meaning that if Arsenal win Chelsea, Arsenal will go to a 9-point lead between them and Chelsea. If Chelsea beat Arsenal, then Arsenal will obviously be 3 points ahead of Chelsea. That's how this game is very important to both sides. Now, remember that over the weekend, the last time Arsenal played, by the way, there at the Emirates, they lost by 1-0 to West Ham. And for Chelsea, over the weekend, they went ahead to beat Southampton by 4-0. And that's not the game they played. How come I've come up and obviously said that? That's not the game they played over the weekend. And over the weekend, Chelsea... Why is this freezing? I think, was it Marco Cucurella? I think went ahead and scored a very beautiful free kick. That's the game that Chelsea last played over the weekend, according to me. Let me really get it right here. I want to get it right, because for Arsenal, they last played in the Premier League at home when they lost to West Ham 1-0, and last weekend they played at Manchester United. That game ended 1-1. So over the weekend, Chelsea beat Leicester City by 1-0, and it was a very beautiful free kick from Marc Cucurella. You remember that very well. So from that, we obviously get to how these teams went ahead to obviously find themselves in a position of really doing the needful to put in a very good shift to really be where they are. Now, let's get into the team news. And for Arsenal, we all know to it that Saka is not yet back, but is soon. Tomiyasu's season is over. Jesus' season is over, and even Kai Havertz's season might be over, unless otherwise Arsenal are ready to play into the into the Champions League finale. That's when this guy will obviously have a chance to kick a ball into that game. So we go to the side of Chelsea. For the side of Chelsea, they really have the following players that are really out of action, and they are not expected to be part of this. Nicholas Jackson is having a hamstring injury. McGeough is having a hamstring injury. Noni Madueke, hamstring injury. Then Omari Kelman, fitness problem. And Mikhailo Modric is suspended, and you know why he was really suspended. Then Malo Gusto is expected to be fit to join the squad of Chelsea. That is it. But if you remember how Arsenal played over the weekend, they went ahead to obviously see themselves putting up an 11 that saw almost all the players that were supposed to obviously come up and obviously do the needful in this fixture get benched, because the lineup had Benjamin White, Kivio, Gabriel Magalhaes, Lewis Kelly, Zinchenko, Jorginho, Rice, Sterling, Merino, Kane, Tierney. When you look at this 11, it's only Raya, Gabriel Magalhaes, and Benjamin White and Rice that might obviously start into this beautiful game of football that Arsenal is obviously going to be playing against Chelsea. And for Chelsea, they really had a game against Copenhagen at home, and it ended 1-0. And when you look at the team, they obviously went ahead, obviously start. It shows you that they really needed this game. They had Chalobah, Tosin, Badiashile, Chempong, then Caicedo and Fernandes, who we anticipate to be in the double pivot as Arsenal is taking on the side of Chelsea. Started. Then Sancho, Neto into the mix. That means he rested the following: Cucurella, Nkunku, Carl Palmer, Rich James, though they later came on, and the rest of the players, meaning that both managers were into their European ties looking at this game because they know how important it is for Arsenal to keep themselves into the title race. All they have to do is to win this game, because the more they lose and Liverpool wins, the more they'll find themselves in a position of really losing out on such a very beautiful title race. Though Liverpool is like 15 points ahead of Arsenal, no one would love to see to it that Liverpool finds itself in a position of really getting to 18, 20 points. You understand? So that is the most important bit of this all. And Arsenal need to win. For Chelsea, they know that their Champions League position is under threat, because if they go ahead and lose, if they go ahead and they lose, and Man City wins, that means they'll be displaced. Newcastle is also there to play. If Newcastle win and Man City win, obviously Chelsea will slip down to the 6th position, and other teams are coming in through. Aston Villa is having 45 points and very many other teams, so they wouldn't like to find themselves in that position of really losing that. So that game of football is really going to be very important over the weekend, and they'll come into action. I'm talking about the side of Arsenal and Chelsea, knowing the fate of other teams that they're really gonna face. For example, when you look at the fixtures today, Man City is playing Brighton today, and Chelsea fans will obviously be looking at that fixture a lot. Then Fulham, Liverpool is not playing today because I think there is what we call, them and Newcastle are not playing today because they're going to be playing into what we call the they're going to be playing in what we call the Carabao Cup finale, and I think it's going to be played on Sunday also. So we'll wait and see how things will pan out into the mix. So Arsenal has a chance to obviously close down onto Liverpool. If they win this game of football, that means they'll narrow down that difference to 12. You understand? So that is it. Now let's get into the probable starting 11 for the side of Arsenal, and we see how Arteta will obviously return, because we know to it very well that he plays a system of 4-3-3, and nobody doubts that David Raya will be in goal. No one doubts that. At the right back, obviously, we'll go for a guy called Julian Timber. That is it. Julian Timber will obviously be played at the right back position in there. And then at the left back, I think Lewis Kelly will maintain his position. Because if you know the threat of what Chelsea really have from that side, I'm talking about the right attacking side of the midfield, then you'll understand why I'm putting Lewis Kelly there. Though he's really a little bit of that person who finds himself in a position of really not being disciplined when it comes to his tackles and so on and so forth. But all I believe is that this guy can obviously come up and obviously put out a very, very, very huge show to really prevent that attacking threat off the right, because the right also comes up with a player called Rich James as a right back, who obviously does the overlaps, and you know what it means when you're really having a player like him in there. So if you're having Pedro Neto there and Rich James, it means obviously going to be a very busy attacking wing for the side of Chelsea. Then Arsenal has to be very strong defensive, and I think Lewis Kelly comes in through. Right-sided centre-back, William Saliba, rested for that fixture that they played in the midweek. We know that very well. He was rested for that. Well, hit fixture. Then Gabriel Magalhaes was played alongside Jakub Kiwior, and I believe this is where the manager has to come up and obviously put in a very beautiful shift in there to see to it that all goes on well as planned. So I think that's going to be the back five for the club of Arsenal for this particular encounter against the club called Chelsea. Then from there, we'll obviously go to the central midfield. Thomas Partey was rested, and I know he's obviously going to be given a chance to obviously showcase what he really has to do in that midfield, because he's a midfield general and is one of the most prominent players that you would love to obviously have every time you really want a lot of people to obviously see your team really controlling that midfield. Then we'll obviously have to see a player known as Declan Rice doing his job into the mix, into that side of the midfield, and then Captain Fantastic Martin Odegaard will obviously do the needful. When you look at Odegaard, he was rested. He came off the bench and played like 10 minutes. The same Partey never played any minutes in that game, meaning that the really did the needful. And one of the reasons why the manager benched these players was because some of them were really one yellow card away from obviously missing the quarterfinal when they are playing Real Madrid. So that is it, and that is the midfield three for the club of Arsenal. Then Ethan Nwaneri came off the bench, and I know he's obviously going to be played as a right forward. Then left forward, I know Gabriel Martinelli is going to be played as a left forward. And then who is going to be leading the line? It's obviously going to be the man himself known as Leandro Trossard into that. I think it's time for Arteta to end his it's high time for Arteta to end his plans of really having a player known as Merino play into that area. You understand? So I believe that's how the club of Arsenal is obviously going to be lining up. You have a chance to obviously come up and tell me who do you want out and who do you want in. You know, additions and subtractions from that probable starting 11 are welcome into the comment section below here onto the Rokani Media Football. So when we go to the side of Chelsea, we anticipate that it's going to be Sanchez in goal, James right back, Cucurella left back, Fofana and Colwill into the central defense, as Fofana plays onto the right side of the central defense, and Colwill will play onto the left side of the central defense. The double pivot, because they play a system of 4-2-3-1, Caicedo and Fernandes are obviously going to be played in the double pivot. Then at left attacking side of the midfield, Jadon Sancho. Right attacking side of the midfield, Pedro Neto. And then Carl Palmer will play as a central attacking midfielder, and Nkunku will obviously lead the line. That's exactly what you're really getting in through from that side of Chelsea. That is the probable 11 of the club of Chelsea. And we look at the notable battles. It will be Lewis Kelly versus Pedro Neto, Julian Timber versus Jadon Sancho, Nkunku versus Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes. By the way, they need to obviously watch out onto that, because Nkunku is a different kind of striker altogether. He's very talented, and we see to it that he drops deep and he really feeds in these other players. And his interplay between Carl Palmer and Sancho might obviously be a threat to the club of Arsenal. They need to watch out a lot. We go to the midfield. Partey, Odegaard and Rice will obviously have to battle Enzo Fernandez, Moise Caicedo and Carl Palmer. Tell me who's obviously going to be winning the midfield battle into this particular encounter. Then Ethan Nwaneri versus Marc Cucurella. It's obviously going to be one of those battles to watch out into this beautiful encounter, as these teams really take themselves on in a London derby. Left forward, it's Gabriel Martinelli taking on Rich James. It's really going to be another heated up battle in there. And Colwill and Wesley Fofana will have to battle it out with Leandro Trossard into that particular encounter in there. So that's exactly what we have in here as the probable starting 11 for the club of Arsenal as they take on the side of Chelsea. Remember, in the first leg it ended 1-1, and now we're waiting to see how everything is obviously going to pan out this particular season when Arsenal is hosting them at the Emirates. Now, let's get into the head-to-head stats before we obviously come up with what we call... let's get into the head-to-head stats before we obviously come up with our prediction on who do we think will obviously walk away with the 3 points. Is it obviously going to be a draw or not? So, particularly one, Arsenal are unbeaten in their last 6 Premier League games against Chelsea with 4 wins and 2 draws. That is Arsenal for you, meaning that gives them a very huge chance to obviously annihilate this team here. Their longest run without a league defeat against them since a run of 19 between 1995 and 2005. So you've had it very well. Arsenal are really having an edge over this, and I know they might replicate, still replicating what they can obviously do into the mix. Secondly, Chelsea have lost their last 2 away league games against Arsenal, going down 5-0 this exact fixture last season. They last lost 3 in a row in the league at the Gunners between 2001 and 2003, meaning that ever since Abramovich came in through and really changed everything for the club of Chelsea, things aren't really going on well. Thirdly, Arsenal have won 6 of their last 9 Premier League games against Chelsea, 2 draws, 1 loss. Their previous 6 wins against the Blues in the competition came over a 32-game period between 2004 and 2020, 10 draws and 16 losses. I think that's when Mourinho was in charge, the likes of Ancelotti. Chelsea was really a tough team. Fourthly, since the start of the season of 2021 and 2022, Chelsea have only won 3 of their 19 Premier League away matches against sides starting the day above them on the table. 3 draws, 13 losses, wins at Fulham 2-0 in October 2023, Tottenham 4-1 in November 2023, and Bournemouth 1-0 in September 2024. So Chelsea and don't really do well when they are really playing teams ahead of them in the Premier League in the recent past. Lastly, Arsenal lost 1-0 against West Ham in their last home match. They've never lost back-to-back London derbies matches at the Emirates Stadium in the Premier League, last doing so at home in 2005-2006 campaign versus Chelsea and West Ham at Highbury. So, at Highbury, it last happened to Arsenal when West Ham and Chelsea went ahead to beat them. Now, is it obviously going to be the case that having gone ahead to lose to Chelsea, then having gone ahead to lose to West Ham at Emirates, can Chelsea come up and beat Arsenal? So, we are waiting to see how that pans out. So, according to me, I think this time around Arsenal are really going to do a win. And I don't want to see Arteta do exactly what he did at the Emirates, at Old Trafford, when he had Martinelli there, and he played Martinelli as a right forward. Instead of obviously telling Trossard to play as the center forward, Martinelli on the left, Waneri on the right, and really get out Mikel Merino, because you all know to it that when you want to really talk about the attributes of Merino as a number 9, they are really very shocking. So, I don't know what makes Arteta think that Mikel Merino is leading the line. When he never had no one to play there, we were like, all right, let him do that. But as me in particular, I really went ahead to obviously rubbish that off, because I thought that at least you better put their Sterling. You better put their Sterling to lead the line, to see to it that he does that, because he can do those link-up plays and hold-up plays better. And he can obviously be a threat to all those forwards, because we saw him do that at the club of Man City when they were benching the likes of Kun Aguero, So I think he should not play Merino again leading the line. And the good thing is that Sterling was the man of the match in that game that Arsenal drew with PSV, at Emirates in the Champions League. So I think he's now in good books with the manager. There is no reason of really starting Mikel Merino and really reserving one of these forwards that I've gone ahead to predict to start in Waneri, Trossard and Martinelli because he knows to eat at least he has another sharp spark off the bench. If he wants to bring in Mikel Merino as number 9, let him come in through 15-10 minutes to go. He can fumble there, but at the start of the game, you need players that can best represent you in those positions. And my prediction is a 3-1 win for the club of Arsenal. That's my prediction, provided the manager goes with that forward line. But if he obviously risks to go out to do things that are not really good, then I think it's going to be a hard one for him. But it's a game there for Arsenal to win. I'm out.